let us take you to court. And Vodacom data expert Pinky Vythilingam is back on the stand in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial, which is ongoing in the Pretoria High Court this morning. Now, yesterday, she centered her testimony around calls that were made and received from a number allegedly belonging to accused number 3, Mthobisi Mncube. I want to talk more about it with Linda Mnisi, our reporter, who's been covering this case for us. So this forensic evidence, we've been, I think, learning just the intricacies and the details around it over the last couple of days, Linda. But the important thing about having it, and in terms of establishing through those cell phone records the location of various of the accused, in this case, her testimony relating to accused number 3 and 5 and their location on the day of Senzo Meyiwa's murder. So talk us through what picture is now emerging in respect of those accused and some of the other details of this case.
Yeah, you'll remember that there was a witness, Iman, that came, Constable Sizwe Zungu. He's a state witness who placed the accused at a Vosloorus hostel on the day that Senzo Meyiwa was killed. He said they were at a Vosloorus hostel in the afternoon.
This is the George Koch.
No. It is the Basotho hostel.
Okay.
It's the Basotho hostel, and he said they were drinking, partying. There was a lot of vibe, people going in and out during that afternoon. And what we're learning from the cell phone records today is that, well, yesterday, is that the number allegedly linked to accused number 3, Mthobisi Mncube, was making phone calls and communication with a number numbers allegedly linked to accused number 5. This is in the early afternoon of that particular day. And, you know, it's interesting because it goes from around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. This sort of corroborates the version of Constable Sizwe Zungu, but of course the issue of corroboration can only be determined by a court. But essentially what we heard previously was that they were at a Vosloorus hostel. We don't know where exactly in Vosloorus this phone was pinging, but from the records it shows that it was pinging in Vosloorus.
And how significant is this against what we are hearing from the accused?
Yeah, so it's significant in the sense that it displays the kind of movements that happened that particular day, because interestingly, you get to a point where later that afternoon, early evening, in fact, the location starts changing, and it changes to an area quite close to George Koch Hostel. Now, you'll remember the version of accused number 5 is that they were never at Vosloorus at that particular hostel. They were, in fact, in George Koch, and he is also corroborated by this evidence that has now been brought by Pinky Vythilingam that accused number 3 was around that area. In fact, she was asked, particularly involving that version that was put by accused number 5, that he said he, together with accused number 3, were in George Koch around that time. And the evidence that's come out is that Pinky Vythilingam confirming that, in fact, at that particular time, the cell phone or the number allegedly belonging to accused number 3 is pinging in the same vicinity. So yes, she can confirm that that is the case.
So all of these accused have pleaded not guilty, but when, as you say, previous investigations are almost lining up with the version in terms of location as provided by the forensic, supervisor at Vodacom, there is a growing body of evidence that the accused are going to have to, together with their defense teams, going to have to counter or to walk back from.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in light of, what has been developing over the past couple of days. I know one of the things that they're keeping their eyes quite closely on, which is something that they've previously spoken out against or tried to rebut, is the evidence around the calls allegedly made between accused number 5 and Kelly Khumalo. The waters are quite muddy there because those calls don't necessarily show on Vodacom's data. What the state is saying is that essentially those calls were made on the GPRS system, which could be an online interaction. So you would have heard them speaking about BBM and the duration there at the time that was spent. But Pinky Vythilingam is saying that in the GPRS stream, you cannot really tell whether this was a call or a message. But what you can tell is that there was an interaction. But what that interaction was, you can't really tell. So in that sense, she couldn't really confirm the existence of those calls. So they'll be watching closely that particular angle. But some of the things that, they would have to also speak to are the issues around the cell phone. Yesterday we heard that after the phones were pinging in the area of George Koch, and then for about 12 hours, there was no activity. In fact, in the phone of accused number 3, the last activity was when he received an SMS around 8:30. And if you follow the state's version, is that between the hour of 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock, that's when Senzo Meyiwa was killed. But there was no activity. For example, a call being made by accused number 3 or him receiving a call from the hour of 6 o'clock up until the very next day. So around the times that Senzo Meyiwa was killed, there was no activity on his phone. The only thing that happened during that time is when he received an SMS, which is around 8:30. So certainly some of the things that they will have to counter. And that location, in fact, is Hout Street. So some of the questions will obviously from the defense be around the state's allegation that he was in Vosloorus. So if the phone is pinging in Hout Street, where could he be? And that will bring about the conversation around the phone and the person, which the state has already started on to say, could this be the phone or the person who was in that particular location?
It's been a marathon process, but fascinating as well, as everyone tries to get to the truth of what happened on that fateful day. Thank you very much, Linda. We'll be keeping in touch with the story through your eyes. I think it starts later today around 11 o'clock. So if we have the opportunity, we will take you into the Pretoria High Court.